You're listening to the Selfdoubt podcast, where we empower women of faith to identify, acknowledge, and accept their doubts and limits and beliefs in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Selfdoubt podcast. I am here with Miss Jonvoana. Welcome and good morning.
Great morning, Queen. How are you?
I am amazing. So for those that don't know, me and Jonvoana met on Clubhouse. I told y'all need to get hip. But we were in a couple of rooms together, and I was like, I could feel her energy. I just knew. I was like, I gotta get connected with her. We did a room together that was amazing.
It sure was.
It was just like, it was more than what I could have imagined it could be. And I was like, I need to have her on the show because everybody ain't on Clubhouse, but they need to get all of this energy from the both of us. So I'm so thankful that you agreed to be on the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Queen, for the invite. All of that is reciprocal. All of that, the energy, the love, the connection. I wanted to reach out to you as well. Was like, you know what? Let's absolutely do a collaborative effort. And it was amazing. It really was. So thank you.
You are so welcome. So before we get started and talking about all the things that you do, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Awesome. Yes. Queen, I surely will. My name is Jonvoana Evans. A little bit about when I say fly, I'm talking about always first loving myself in this instance, right? But that acronym normally goes first loving yourself. I am very creative and I'm passionate about helping women understand the importance of when I can give my best. I'm telling you, I'm going to give it because I have it to actually give. So, and the reason why I answer that question like that is because I always like to help women to understand that what you do is not who you are, but who you are makes you great at what you do. So that's why I always start the discussion with different types of characteristics of who I am, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly why I answered it that way. But yep, that's about me. I'm fun loving. In addition to, I'm a wife of an amazing king, Dr. Evans. We own a practice in Waldorf, Maryland. We have 6 beautiful kids. We have a beautiful blended family. And I actually love what it is that I do full time, just with all the other things that I have assigned to me. So that's a little bit about me.
Yes. So as you discussed, talking about first loving yourself, okay, and all that you're doing, how did that come about? How did this manifest into what it is that you're doing right now? When I first started posting on social media for the podcast, oh my goodness, it was a disaster. I did not know what I was doing. I was guessing at everything. Then things shifted for me when I got introduced to 3 platforms that changed the game for me. I started using Canva for my graphics, Caption Writer for my captions, and Wave for the audiograms. Seriously, if you go back to the beginning of the Slaying Self-Doubt Instagram page, you will see the transformation. If you are in the process of branding or rebranding yourself, I recommend you try out these platforms. Canva has hundreds of templates that you can choose from to design any type of post you desire. Caption Writer allows you to create and save your captions with the perfect line breaks and even lets you add different fonts. Wave helps you create snippets of your content to share with your followers. They have closed captions and those cool little wavy lines. If you're interested in trying them out, click the links in the show notes to start using them today. Now, back to the show.
That's such a great question. and I really love to reflect on this often. So just a tad backstory. Back in 2010, I was going through a divorce. I was going through very ugly divorce where I had three beautiful daughters that came of that marriage.
Mm.
But because I knew it wasn't right for me, I had to make some decisions. And the decisions, initially, of course, I fought with it for quite some time and went back and left and went back and left and decided, you know what, this is absolutely killing me. So when I pulled away from it, I didn't know who I was. Isn't that
Wow.
something? I
Yeah.
had no self-identity for all of these years because I had my first daughter at 19. I had gotten married, purchased a house, all these other things at the ages of 22 and 23. So I was living this life of
Mm.
being everything to everybody else
Mm.
and absolutely little to nothing to myself. So when those titles and when those things was stripped of me, when I decided no longer could I be a wife in that type of situation, no longer could I, be an employee because I had lost my job. It was around about the 2008 crisis where the
Mm.
housing crisis flipped upside down, and
Yeah.
I was in the real estate industry. It was more or less the title side. So all of these things was being stripped of me, right? And because I identified with those things when they were taken away from me, I didn't know who I was.
Who does a word?
I didn't know who I was. So the reason why I am where I am today, I realized when I look back and self reflect, when I look back in retrospect, I was like, you know what? All of this derived because I didn't know who I was. I didn't truly love myself
Mm.
like I thought I did. I was being a great wife. I was being a great church member, right? I was being a
Yeah.
great mom. I was being all these things. But at the end of the day, when the lights turned off, I had no idea who I was. So because I knew I was not alone, I had established, even in the midst of my divorce, even in the midst of my separation, I was sleeping on floors and couches with my daughters because everything. I walked away from everything.
Wow.
He was not willing to, work with me to get things done. I walked away from it all because my life was more important to me than things. Sleeping on
Mm.
floors and couches, I opened and started a women's organization that's called F.L.Y. You are not alone, first loving yourself.
Mm.
And that was my ministry to help women to understand that you can't possibly understand that you are the only one that is going through this type of situation.
Yeah.
So I started to help them with credit repair and going back to school and getting out of, unhealthy relationships, or helping them to understand their power to choose, right? To
Mm.
get out of unhealthy relationships. So I realized to the root of all that I was experiencing is that I was not first loving myself. So there was a period of years I decided to go back to school and really pursue my IT career and really get into that very heavy. But guess what? Made the six figures, got the IT certifications, get all these things off the checklist that I was supposed to be doing, but I was still left with a void. And
Mm.
what I heard God said so clearly, daughter, I gave you everything that you've wanted. Now what? And I was like, okay. So I decided to come on back to the side of life, to doing mentoring and life coaching, and make it official brand. So that's how I derived back to the place to where I am. And I am so fulfilled. I am so fulfilled. And I thank God for that process, that he was actually able to allow me to not only experience life and go through these things, but he was able to bring this thing back full circle and say, I need you to walk into that boldly and help other queens understand the importance of first loving yourself.
Yes. So what resonated with me doing, you telling your story was being so connected, or having these titles, right? And
Mhm.
those titles being the things that we allow to define us, right? I remember, and I've shared this on here before, I remember my oldest son's father when we broke up, and it was so devastating to me. And I remember my mom was like, basically she's like, get yourself together, right?
Right,
Type
right.
situation, like, you got a kid, blah, blah, blah. And I remember saying, like, to her, was like, you don't know what it's like to have your entire life ripped away from you.
Mm,
And at that moment, it was like, so devastating, because I was like, what am I supposed to do now?
mhm.
Now I can say like, how did I allow another person to have that much power
Absolutely.
and I gave it willingly, right? Because we
Mhm.
pour ourselves into these relationships, we pour ourselves into our children, into our
Absolutely.
jobs. And it was like something when I was going through my whole self-doubt journey, it
Mhm.
was like you cannot give anybody else that power. Like there is no
Absolutely.
way. You control all of that. That is on you. And it took a while for me to kind of readjust, but even in my job when I was there, I would always tell my staff, like, you do understand you're replaceable, right? Like in every situation, no matter what you put into it, anything could happen. And if your I can't think of the word right now, but if your status or your identity, that's the word,
Mhm,
is
mhm.
tied to these things, when it's gone,
Absolutely.
then who are you? Right.
Absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
right there, when you say that, I got goosebumps. Like, because I was like, I know what that's like to be in
Mhm,
a situation and be connected. And even as a parent, right? Your
mhm.
kids grow up. We
Yep.
put so much into our kids, and now my children are teens, right? Or
Mhm.
preteen, tween, teenage years. We in that middle phase, right?
Right,
They
right.
don't need me as much, but now I'm teaching them how to be adults. My kids are closer to being adults than they are babies. And so it's
Mhm.
like that's a shift for me in that, okay, it doesn't look the same, right? And so my identity can't just be I'm their mom, because eventually they'll be, husbands, and they'll be fathers, and they will
Absolutely.
do other things. And then who I'm still their mother, right? But I'm not in that mommy role. So who am I now?
Exactly.
So man, that was powerful. Thank you for sharing that, because I was
Oh,
just
you're
like, oh
welcome.
gosh, that is so many times our identities are connected to what we do, not who we
A-
are. And that is,
Absolutely.
whoo, that
It is,
is,
and it's extremely for us to be aware of that. That self-awareness is so key, and it's the
mhm,
beginning place. It is absolutely the beginning place of it all. So that's one of the first things I work with when it comes to, I call them my butterfly queens. They're my AKA one-on-one coaching clients, is
mhm,
I help them to understand you are not what you do. Who you
yeah,
are makes you great at what you do. And once they realize that, that is the beginning, right? That is, wait a minute. So if you're saying, give me some characteristics of a teacher, right? Okay, well, I'm organized, I'm great at researching, I'm resourceful, I'm patient, I'm
mhm,
creative. I'm okay. So now tell me, what is it that you do? I'm a teacher. Now tell me who you are. And if you start saying, I'm resourceful, I'm creative, I'm organized, I'm patient, all of those things, no matter if that role is stripped of you,
mm,
you can
mm,
still take those amazing attributes and characteristics and move into any role. So
yes,
you don't have to feel stuck. So if you get laid off as a teacher, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter, because why? I'm resourceful, I'm articulate,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
it just gives you a different level of strength and power with who you truly are.
Yes, yes, I love that. So how has self-doubt showed up in your journey? I told y'all, imposter syndrome is real. When I'm in those moments of doubt and anxiety, I ask myself, who's going to listen to you? Did God really call you to do this? Or, girl, ain't nobody trying to pay you to talk to them? These thoughts lead me to procrastination and being paralyzed by my fears and doubts. Throughout this journey of slaying my own self doubt, I have some tried and true practical steps that have helped me, and I would love to share them with you. Head on over to my website at www.feliciawallace.com and download the 5 ways to slay your self doubt. Now back to the show.
Oh, self-doubt showed up in my journey several ways actually. One thing that I can say about me, and this has happened really over time, and it's honestly the grace of God. I don't know any other way to really put it, but I have this very unique thing about me that I believe that I can really do anything that I put my
Mm,
mind to, right? I believe I can do anything that I put my mind to. And I know a lot of people really, are probably the opposite. Here are only the things that I can do.
Yeah.
But even with that being said, Queen, once I believe that, again, I can do anything that I put my mind to, once I get started, right? Once I get started, the human side of you has a tendency to show up. Things from your past has a tendency to show up and remind you of a past situation that you've gone through that possibly didn't turn out the way that you thought it would turn out. I thank God I have the ability to affirm myself, to get myself back on track, right? I had to explain to people oftentimes, y'all, just because we're coaches, just because, we're so positive and it looks like we have everything's together. It's not that things don't go wrong. It's just that we don't stay stuck and we have the ability to make it right. Right. And that's the great thing about what it is that I can honestly say I have the power to do. Once I realize that self-doubt is showing up, okay, I start affirming myself, right? Okay, I start bringing up the positives. I start looking at my track record. I'll give you one specific incident that I talk about when it comes to self-doubt, how it has shown up in my life with becoming and using this official title as a life coach, even though I've been doing this for years, right? I mean, I promise you, back in, I was 19 and I was mentoring, women that were older than me, right? So I've been doing this for quite some time, but the official title of a life coach and seeing how many people out there are coaching and, oh my goodness, this coach is doing that. And oh my goodness, this sounds similar to what it is that I do. So again, you start to kind of question yourself a little bit like, okay, I know I heard God. Let me just make sure I'm doing this right. So it'll show up with that way, again, so having the tendency to look externally versus internally, looking at what's going on around you and who is doing what and what looks like what it is that you're doing. But one incident more specifically, I was signing up to be a speaker at a conference, and I was attempting to figure out what my topic was going to be for this conference, right? So I was like, I need to make it a good topic. This is something new. This is something different. So what I decided to do is I went on the website and I wanted to see who else was speaking.
Now y'all already know.
I just wanted to get an idea, right?
Right. Paying attention to somebody else and what they doing.
Right. See how it shows up, and we think, oh no, I'm just doing research. Nah, that's a way that we just want to say it, right? No, that's self-doubt. Because if you understand what your purpose is and your passion and what it is that God has assigned to you, it doesn't matter who else is speaking and what they're speaking about. Queen, I went on that website. It was a complete setup, right? It was a complete setup. But before I went on the website, I turned around to my daughter and I asked my daughter, I said, what do you think I should speak about? She's like, Ma, whatever you speak about, it's going to be fine. I know it's going to be great. Now, this is coming from my 20-year-old college student who feel like if I put my mind to it, I could make a cure to COVID, right? She has that much faith. She has that much faith in me. You see who I asked, right?
Right. But that's how babies are. They imagine things. So I'm gonna let you finish, but I was just gonna say that, like, think about where we were as kids. We could imagine anything. It would, once we start to grow up and we start to fall into this self-doubt and this comparison thing, that we put these limitations on ourselves. So our kids can see what we can't, right? And so sometimes I gotta be like, you know what, you right. I am amazing. You are right.
Good morning. So yes, it is so funny that you said that, because that's what it is. That is exactly how it is with her. And so anyway, she was like, go ahead and just put anything down. So I was like, all right, well, let me look. Then I said, let me look to see who's on here after I've already received the confirmation. Honey, Les Brown was on there. Forbes, and he's my favorite. He's one of my favorite all-time motivational speaker. Sonia Stribling was on there. Forbes Riley was on there. Ty Miles, George Fraser.
I'm right at whatever, send it.
So I was like, oh, okay, all right. And you know what? I was like, you get yourself together. You have a message, and there are people that you will touch that they'll never be able to touch.
Woo.
you have a message, that they have a message that people you'll never be able to touch. And see, that's what we have a tendency to do. We start to compare
Yes.
ourselves to others, and it's not a fair comparison, because we all have a word in our belly, in our spirits, from our experiences, that are specific and special to us, that people
Yes.
need to hear it from us. So of course I had to slay that self-doubt. I had to pull out my past and say, you know what, girl, you killed this. You did this and you got accolades for this. You can do this.
Yeah.
So I was able to go and share a positive, powerful message about invalid validation. That's that whole self-doubt stuff. Invalid validation. Look into others for validation.
Yes. So when you first started out saying that, so the first thing I did was I went to go look, and something that you said was we try to call it something that it isn't, right? We just doing research. We're doing market research, or we're, finding out if something is who is, especially in entrepreneurship or any businesses, when you're building a business, they want you to find out who are your competitors, right?
Right,
That's in
right, right,
anything
right,
that you do.
right.
Not because it should not be to
Mhm,
be like that they are your competition, but it should to be like, okay, who's in the same kind of arena as you are? What are they doing? Are your numbers the same? Like, where, different types of things, right? But it's not
mhm.
to be like I'm in competition with this person, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
However, when you are operating in that self-doubt space
Mhm,
and it comes up, the minute you see somebody doing something that even sounds remotely close to what you're doing,
mhm,
or you see somebody who's been doing it longer, better,
mhm,
however you want to word it,
mhm,
those are the moments where you're right. You have to then remind yourself, like, okay, what have I already done? You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? What have I already slayed? What have I
Right,
already, what is my story? Because you are absolutely
absolutely.
right, those that are connected to us individually, those are
Mhm.
the people that need to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Whoever it is.
We have specific assignments. We
Yes,
have
ma'am.
specific assignments and people that are meant to attach to us. Just like there's so many different churches, right? There's so many different restaurants.
Yes.
There are so many different,
Bread, water.
retails. Exactly. It's just so many different things that are out there, and there's a consumer base for us all. And I believe you definitely hit it when you're saying, that market research or finding out
Mhm.
information. It's not the information that we should really focus on. It's how do we choose to use that data to
Yeah.
affect our next decision. That's the
Wow.
whole self-doubt thing, right? We're going to get like you said, the people with the competition and what it is that they do, and what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to allow it to deter you, or are you going to allow it to develop you? Are you
Hmm.
going to allow it to define you, or are you going to allow it to develop you? Are you going to allow it to destroy you, or are you going to allow it to develop you? And
That's
when
the
it comes
word.
to slaying that self-doubt, development, development, development. Take that information and run with it. Don't run away from it.
Yes, yes, yes. So what have you learned about yourself that during this journey that you didn't know before? Y'all, becoming a full time entrepreneur isn't for the faint of heart. And sometimes I get so wrapped up in building this business that I literally forget about basic things like grocery shopping. That's why I started using Instacart. Instacart is the go to service for quick and effective grocery delivery. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't want people shopping for me. I don't want nobody touching my fruit. Trust me, I know exactly how you feel. I used to be the same way. But when I think about the effort it takes now to go grocery shopping, no thank you. When you are a customer of Instacart, you select your groceries from the store of your choice. Then a personal shopper does the shopping and delivers it right to your doorstep. You cannot get any better than that. If you have never tried Instacart, trust me, you will not regret it. Click the link in the show notes and get $10 off your first order today. Now, back to the show.
Hmm. That is a really good question. I self-reflect literally every single day. Like that is a ritual that goes without being said. Like, especially in the evening time, right before I go to bed,
Mm,
I have this quote that I say, "My best was good for today, but
mm,
tomorrow I will do better." my best was good for today. And I think about those best things, those great things that I did for today. But I think about how I can make it better tomorrow, right? So because I do a lot of self-reflecting, knowing or learning something new about myself that I didn't know before, it's a very interesting question. I think I just kind of go day by day. The things that I do don't necessarily surprise me in a sense. I did not know what I guess one thing I can say, I did not know that what happened to me really was happening for me. That's one thing that I honestly can say. During that time, what was I thought, all of the things that I was going through and experiencing in life, even when it comes to my affirmations.
Yeah.
When I was going through a very rough patch in my life, I was talking to myself positively a whole lot. And I believe that was a big component of me persevering, of course, as well as my faith in God, but me affirming and telling myself, hey, you can get through this. You can
Yeah.
do this, right? But those same words I use to create these affirmation cards that people are now using in their lives to help change their lives and help to shift their perspective. So if I could say one thing that I've truly just learned about myself from that, is that those things from the past, if I really continue to move on that path of pulling on them and bringing them to the future, that I can still overcome the things that are due to
Yeah.
come in the future, right?
Yeah, that's a word right there. And I love how you said that you and not realizing that what was happening to you was preparing you, right?
Mhm,
And it was
mhm,
for your. And we say this: everything that happens is for our good. We don't
mhm,
may not recognize it in the moment because you're going through, right? Or you're,
mhm.
as someone else said to me, you're growing through, right?
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
you don't see it until after the fact. But the other thing that it made me think about is that in the midst of sometimes of our struggles or our growing through or our going through, we don't recognize what God is building in us for
Right.
ourselves and for other people, right? Because
Mhm,
here
mhm.
you were in a situation saying that, I need to be able to figure out how to love myself first and, remove the having the identifications not being these titles and who am I outside of all of these different things, not knowing that God was preparing you to
Right.
be able to help the people that are assigned to you, right?
Absolutely.
And so many times, and I've fallen into this myself, is that we get so wrapped up in what's happening to us, right? Just
Mhm, mhm.
you
Taking it
know,
personal.
yeah, we take it all personal, and just once you like it's that self-awareness, right? Like once you have the self-awareness of knowing that God has something greater in store for us, it takes a while for you to take those difficult moments and it's not to say that when you're going through you shouldn't go through it and like feel whatever you're going to feel, but also knowing that okay, there's a lesson at the end of this. I don't know who this is supposed to bless, whether it's
Right.
me or somebody else, Lord, but okay, I got you, but that takes some growth to be able to get to that point. Cause I know for a while, before I was on this journey, me and Jesus would have to have it out. I'd be
Oh
like, Slim, for
yeah.
real. Like,
Oh yeah.
what is going on? I need you. I'm gonna need you to
That's what we doing?
listen, right?
That's
Like,
what that's like?
is this is
Okay.
what happened? Oh, okay, I got you. I see what's happening now, right?
Right, right.
But I think it's just so important that we understand that our stories are truly meant to be our testimonies, right? Like
Absolutely.
for
And that's what
other
I
people.
say. My story, God's glory. My
Yes.
story, God's glory. And what was truly developed from my story, he allowed me to have the time to self-reflect and to write these things down
Yeah.
and put it on paper so that I could help others. I had ended up developing the 5 pillars of F.L.Y from this all, right?
Yes.
Which has changed and helped so many women. You're talking about get out of abusive or unhealthy relationships, whether it was romantic or platonic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes relationships with friends and families, are
Child.
taking advantage of you, things like that, right? I don't know why every time people hear us talk about relationships, they think it's all no, some
Mm-hmm.
toxic family ships, right?
Yes.
Some toxic
Yes.
friendships, right? But he allowed me to develop 5 pillars of F.L.Y. And this was all came from my experience, like you said, what it is that I was growing through, right? He's
Yes,
like, no,
yes.
take that and put that in a formula and make sure that it is replicable so that others could heal from it. The first one is self-awareness. That is where it always start, right? It always start with your level of self-awareness. And that's done by self-reflecting. Because, and I believe COVID was, to some people, COVID, and it's unfortunate it took so many lives, and
Yes.
the people were suffering from it, and it has caused, the layoffs and things like that. But for me, it was ordained. For me, it was a period of shut down, be quiet, and reflect. The
Yeah.
world was too busy, always going, and we did not take time to reflect and be with who we were at that moment, right?
Yeah.
Because it was always get up, go to work, get the kids to school,
Yeah.
run to the market. It's always going, going, going. But when the pandemic hit, it had to be shut down, right?
He set us all
All the
down.
way, all the way down. Be quiet. I don't want y'all to no church
Nada.
happening, no
Don't you
nothing.
say, you know how when you tell your kids, and when we get in the store, don't you touch nothing, don't you look at nothing, don't
Right,
you say nothing,
right,
keep your
right,
eyes closed.
right.
It was just like that. He was like,
Well, how
not
am I
another
walk?
word. Right.
Well, how am I walk? Well, figure it out. And I believe it, again, some people call it a pandemic or panoramic or panorama, and all of those things, whatever. But I believe that it was crucial, and it gave us the opportunity for those who seized it, was a time for us to self-reflect and get to the core about who we were, detached from all of these other things and responsibilities. So that's the first pillar of F.L.Y, and that's the identity stage. I like to call that the identity stage. The second pillar of F.L.Y is self-forgiveness. Queen, oh my gosh. We need to forgive ourselves for some stuff we done, right? We done some stuff. And
Listen.
it's interesting. We'll forgive other people sometimes before we even forgive ourselves. Isn't that crazy?
Yes, child. Me and that F word did not get along for a very, very long time. Okay.
I'm telling you. And for the forgiveness stage, I like to call that the emptying stage. Pour it all out, right?
Yeah.
If you envision these stages and these steps with a glass, right? A glass container, the identity stage. What am I seeing through, right? What
Yeah.
is truly in the inside of me, right? The second one being the forgiveness. Let's go ahead and empty out all of that muck and mire that's in the inside, right? The third stage is the cleansing stage. And that stage has to deal with creating boundaries and limiting access. A lot of us don't know. We feel so uncomfortable with telling people no. I was supposed to carry the family. I was supposed to be there for granddaddy, grandma, my mother, my brother, my sister. And at the end of the day, we have no energy to pursue our goals and our dreams, right?
Absolutely.
We're gonna cleanse some stuff out. Nope, you can only call me between this time and this time. If you want to vent all day and you don't want a solution followed behind it, I will only be able to give you 10 minutes of my time. Let's create some boundaries. They are healthy. Boundaries are all around us. God has created boundaries to create what? Order.
When you say limits and access, I was already like, oh yeah, I like, yes, limits.
You can't just no. I unfortunately today, if you need me to do, mom and dad, I love you. I'm here to support you. Yes, but on Saturdays is when I can run errands for you between this time and this time, and I need to know. But we need to be able to
In
limit
advance.
access in advance. Here, you see what I'm saying? So that is the cleansing stage. The fourth stage is really the self-love, and it's outside of the self-care, right? Some of us are really good, hair done, nail done, everything did, massage every now and again. But what about the self-development? What about investing in yourself and say, you know what? I'm unable to figure this thing out by myself. I'm gonna get me a life coach. I am going to get me a fitness instructor. I'm gonna get me a health coach. What about that type of self-love and self-development? What about a mindset and meditation coach, right? That's what that fourth stage, and that's the refilling stage. I love the self-love stage. That is the refilling stage. And the fifth stage is the self-commitment stage. That is the maintenance stage, right? Wow. That's our commitment to say, you know what? I'm going to do this every time over and over again because I deserve it.
Wow.
First, loving yourself is a journey. It's continuous. It doesn't happen overnight, but you need to put in place all five of those stages in order to remain fly. So that's what my life experience has shown me. And I'm able to give that to help other queens through it as well.
Yes, you flowed right into it because I was getting ready to say, okay, let's talk about being fly, and so you gave us those pillars, and so we know, and I already was like, well, we could do a whole nother episode breaking down these pillars,
Yes, yes,
so y'all
yes.
stay tuned because that may be a whole nother thing, okay? But the ones that the forgiveness that is all of these are important.
Mhm,
The ones that I feel like that a lot of times we have a tendency, especially as women, to really uh dive deep into, right? Like you said, it's easiest for us to forgive others, but forgiving ourselves
mhm,
to remove some of that guilt that we had for things that we did not know, right?
mhm, mhm,
Decisions that may not have been in our control. I've shared on
mhm.
here when I was talking about how self-doubt shows up in your parenting,
Right.
how I had this guilt of, y'all know the story. This podcast was an assignment from God that had my self doubt and limiting beliefs telling me that nobody would listen. But you, yes, you, kept showing up every week to listen to this podcast. And because you keep showing up, so do I. If you enjoy this podcast and would love to support me and future episodes, please consider making a donation by simply purchasing me a coffee. If you would like to donate, click the Buy Me a Coffee link. Now, back to the show. Because of my the relationship with my oldest son's father and I, like, we're completely fine now, like best
Mhm,
of friends.
mhm,
But in the beginning I had all this guilt of, like, what if he doesn't, because we're not together, is he gonna miss out on something, and whether or not he's going, and I would overdo things, and I would, even when I came into my marriage, of like, not saying it, but maybe kind of feeling like telling my husband, like, you don't have to worry about it, I got, like, I'm gonna over love him because I felt guilty about it. Wasn't even my fault we wasn't together, but I felt
mhm,
guilty about the
mhm,
fact that, and so once I got to a place where I said, this not on you, right? It's not
mhm,
on you to
mhm,
carry that burden of something that happened to you, right?
mhm,
And then it's not your burden to make up for him not being here. Like, however that works out, God will work that out, and it's fine, and your son is fine. So
yeah,
forgive yourself for not even knowing what you didn't know in the beginning, but now you know better. So
mhm,
don't go into to the same thing. So that forgiveness of recognizing, the things that you didn't know, or even when you knew you was trifling and you
mhm.
did some trifling
Yep,
things, and you
yep,
like,
yep,
I don't know if I deserve anything else because of who I was. You're different. That's a part of, like you said, the self-reflecting and
yep.
being able to bring all of that stuff up. Like, I love the way you said, like, dump it all out, lay it all out on the
Mhm,
table so
mhm,
that you are clear when you move on to the next thing. And
mhm,
then when you said about the self-love, that I even when you said it, I immediately thought about self-care until you
mhm,
said it is not the same thing. And then I
mhm.
was like, you know what? She is so right. It is not the same, because
Not.
loving myself is an investment into me, right? Like, when you
Absolutely.
care, self-care is, like you said, doing certain things. Like, I make sure I take a bath every Sunday.
Right, right.
Like, that is like to get me back at a balanced state so I can get, move out the rest of my week. But loving myself is saying, y'all, I got a therapy appointment at 6. So leave me alone for an
Absolutely.
hour, right?
Yes.
Loving myself is saying, husband, I've been trying to lose this weight for the past 11 years, and it just ain't working. So I'm gonna need some help. And I've been working with my health coach for almost a year now, right?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm,
but
mhm.
it was mindset shifts. It was so many different things that came about it. But I love myself enough to say I want better for my future self. So I have to
Absolutely.
do the work now.
Yeah.
And even personal development in yourself.
Mhm.
When loving ourselves is walking in our purpose, right?
Absolutely.
Because we're not fighting it
Absolutely.
anymore. And so then we do the work to make sure that we're able to put out exactly what it is that God wants us to put out. So those two things stuck out to me of, like, yes, like, we sometimes we can do the other stuff, but
Mhm.
those two things cause you to actually do the work. You gotta do the work.
Yeah,
Oh man.
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. I agree. It's, and again, it's so it's starting to not become a taboo thing, right? And I
Yes.
really believe, and again, I started this journey back in 2010 about this whole F.L.Y, first loving yourself, and what it truly looks like. And it's developed over the years and things of that nature. But it's interesting that I was able to take time and reflect and really get to the core of why in the hell did you allow yourself to get into a situation like that, girl? You knew you was cute, you knew you had a smart little brain, but something else is going on
Yeah.
with you,
Yeah.
right? And I took the power back and I decided not to be a victim of my
Mm.
situation, right? And that's
Yeah.
where that self-reflection and things like that coming into play. But when you hear the terms self-care, self-love, and loving yourself, and it's again, and it's beautiful, right? I love the fact that people are catching on, but we have the tendency, and you pointed this out, to get stuck in one of these phases or
Yeah.
give one of them more attention than the other. In order to find a good balance,
Mm-hmm.
again, you got to have a good cycle and a rotation. And guess what? Do this with intent, right?
Yeah.
We have been taught that you are selfish,
Mm.
right? When you decide to say no, oh, she being brand new, or she
Yes.
just think about herself, you know what? That's why I say I can give my best when I have it to give. Man,
Yeah.
when we are full, when we have rested, we're well rested, when we have gone out there and gotten our education, when, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying, we've gone to the gym and exercise and we got plenty of water, we can take on
Mm-hmm.
the world.
Yes.
We can be there to support and encourage, but we have been giving ourselves the scrapes and the scraps,
Ooh.
right? At
Mm.
the end of the day, everybody else winning like a mug, all their bills paid, they feel rejuvenated. I call you to get inspired, but at the end of the day, you exhausted. No, 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 no. No, that's not how that works. And I promise you, if we change how that truly looks, the world, I promise you, will be so much of a better place.
Yes, yes. When you say that, it made me think of an interview I did. Um, I think around shoot, I think it was this time last year actually. With a therapist. And we were talking about emotional wellness, and one of the things that she said was, "You never want to serve anybody from your cup.
Mm,
Your cup is for you. They should
mm.
be getting your overflow." And so
Yes.
if
Yes.
if they are not receiving your, you don't have it, you have to have enough for yourself. And so
Mhm.
when you say this, I can give my best when I have it to give,
I'm telling
that's
you.
your cup being full. And so
Absolutely.
and that's your responsibility. It's
Mm.
nobody else's responsibility to
Let
fill
me
your
tell you.
cup.
Let
You
me
can
tell you.
you can you do need people to pour into you,
Mhm,
right? But
mhm,
it's not their responsibility to be able to make sure that you have what you need. That
mhm,
is your job to be able to say, no, I can't do this today,
mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
And it doesn't matter
Absolutely.
who it is. I feel like another title that we, when we talk about like being identity and kind of getting stuck in certain, like when you're in a marriage and your
Yes.
spouse wants something from you. I've learned have to tell, I just got to tell my husband, like, do you understand I have boundaries? If I say no,
Oh,
I
yes.
don't want to cook dinner tonight,
Yes.
or no, I don't feel like I don't
Yes.
want to watch what you want to watch right now. No, I don't, I want to do this versus doing that. I should be able to say that. Like, I don't want,
Absolutely.
and once he said it, he was just like, I said it to him and he was like, "You're right. I
Mhm.
do expect for you to just," and I was like if I'm willing to do it, sure, no problem. But if I need time to myself, because
Yes.
outside of being, you're a person first, no matter
Yes.
who you're connected to. And
Yes.
so what you need to fill yourself up, what you need to rejuvenate, what you need to reset is going to be different from
Mhm.
everybody else. And you have to know. I'm like, if you want the best of me, swim.
Sure. I'm gonna need to take a nap.
I
That
need
I'm
to
gonna
go
need to
to
take a nap. I'm gonna need y'all to use that air fryer tonight. I'm gonna need
listen.
y'all to pick up that cell phone and call the pizza place, the Chinese place, Uber, do something,
I'm gonna
but
need you
not
to figure
today.
it out. That's what I'm gonna
Not
need you to do.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And let me tell you, I'm telling you, it may seem uncomfortable initially, but the
Yeah.
people who really love you and care for you, they recognize that you need that time. And once
Yes.
you get that time, they're like, oh, you're in such a great mood. Like,
Yeah. Listen.
oh my
Yes.
goodness, like I love you. Like,
Every single time he'd be like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I took my bath. I feel I can, like, you and the thing about it is that when you've deprived yourself for so long of the things that you need, once
right.
you get it, I'm like, I can't miss a Sunday. I'm sorry,
I'm
y'all. I don't
telling
care
you.
what time it is. I
Mhm,
am getting in this bath for the time just to relax myself so I can go into the week my full self. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Like,
mhm.
there are going to be moments that we're not saying that this is going to be, because there's going to be moments where things happen and you have to go, right?
Mhm,
And you're going to
right.
have to really
Absolutely.
just, everything has to kind of be set to the side, and you're not going to be able to do
But it
the
shouldn't
thing.
be it
It should
shouldn't
not
be,
be a continuous
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
That should, you shouldn't fall into that, right? And then be
No.
like, oh, I didn't do it. It should be momentarily, like, this event is happening, whatever it
Mhm.
is, yeah, this is a little hiccup right here, and we're going to
Make an
go
adjustment
make an
and
adjustment, and
address
then
it.
we're going to go back. We're going to go
Yes,
back to our regularly scheduled program, because you
absolutely.
need that for yourself. We have been surviving for
Mhm,
too long.
mhm,
And
mhm.
now and like you said, we're seeing people who are really, now everybody's kind of getting on, with the self-love and the
Yeah,
self-care and the, self-reflecting and having that awareness. We want better because we know
yeah.
that it is possible. We're seeing people do it, right?
Yep.
People like you and myself who are
Mhm,
like, no matter what's happening, like, they still have a spirit about them, or energy about them, that's
mhm,
like,
mhm.
yeah, this may be rough, but this too shall pass, because I'm clear that God had already brought me out of something else, and I still have work to do, right? I,
Absolutely,
I got
absolutely.
work to do, so I cannot stop right here. I can't stop in this little valley right here. So, man, see, I knew coming into this conversation, I was like, I tried to, I said, it's gonna be like 30-45 minutes, because I was like, I can sit here and talk to her all day.
Yes, yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's just, again, even when we talked from the very beginning, like the alignment.
Yeah.
I said the year 2021 for me was going to be the year of collaboration, and you was like, oh my goodness, I said something,
Yeah,
similar to that.
yes,
So
alignment is one of my, alignment and community,
yeah.
and obedience. My words for 2021. So,
I love it. And I thank you so much, Queen, for this discussion. It's just been great. And I look forward to always having this discussion, because that self-doubt, I'm telling you,
it
it absolutely can show up. But as we continue to, take that time to become self-aware,
yeah,
what it allows us to do is the ability to understand when it arises, how do we address it, right?
yes,
How
yes.
do we recognize it? Because some of us will get caught into the trap. Oh, I can't believe I'm still experiencing fear, or still
Mm-hmm.
experiencing self-doubt, or still experiencing, self-limiting beliefs and behaviors and lack of self-confidence. No, those things are going to arise at time.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
how are we going to address it? Do we know the triggers? Do we
Mm,
know the things that causes us to self-doubt? Do we
yes,
understand what causes us to be fearful in situation? And once we know those things, we need to put measures in place to be able to mitigate us actually staying there for so long,
yes,
right? that
ma'am.
that is that is the whole thing, y'all. It's gonna happen. Let me let you know. I don't
Yeah,
care how long you've been living, how much you affirm yourself, how much positive energy, it is going to rear its ugly head. But it's up to you to understand that you have the power to not only recognize it, but also to put pause on it. Be like, nope, you will not
not
cause
today.
me. Right. No, 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 not today. So what we not going to do, right?
Right,
I'm gonna
right.
go ahead and I'm gonna move forward, and I'm gonna apply for this job. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna move forward, and I'm gonna let this person know how it is that I'm feeling. I'm gonna
Mhm.
move here. Don't allow it to get you stuck. So
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes. I want to thank you so much for being on here. I know that, people, anybody who heard this, if y'all didn't get something from it, y'all is tripping. I just want to let you know that now. But I am so grateful that we were able to have this conversation.
yes.
And so, how can people connect with you if they ready to get fly, sis? So how?
Awesome. I'm just saying, you can go to my website, website, lifecoachvon.me, and that's LifeCoachVon.me, M-E. They can also find me on all social media platforms, on Clubhouse, on Twitter. I kind of not on Twitter a whole lot.
I
Also,
know.
I got a profile there, but y'all, I don't do anyway, right? So Clubhouse, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course IG. All of those on Life Coach Vaughn at Life Coach Vaughn. So please feel free to reach out, because again, I am so passionate about helping women to understand the importance of being fly, first loving yourself. And I promise y'all, it's not about forsaking all others. It's about prioritizing your needs, your wants, and your desires.
Yes, yes. Y'all know I'm going to have all the information in the show notes so that y'all can get connected to her. Thank you so much.
No,
I'm
Queen,
just
thank you.
so grateful. Thank you.
I so appreciate it. Thanks again. And this is such an amazing, amazing platform. You keep up your passionate, purposeful, powerful work, Queen.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.